Hey guys, Future Caleb here. I wanted to give you guys a heads up before we start the reading that this story is meant to be about grieving for someone who has committed suicide. Now, when we stream readings, just like when we pre-record readings, we don't pre-read anything. That's what gives us our fun, natural reactions to what we're reading. However, on streams, I really need to, in the future, make sure I preface every live reading with this fact. Because it didn't really occur to me until afterward that this could be quite triggering for some people. Sorry about that. The other thing I wanted to give a quick mention is that we get a little hard on the characters lamenting their feelings for the deceased. And while it's warranted, I feel like we didn't go in depth enough to make some things clearer. When a loved one commits suicide, like with any death, you are going to have a range of thoughts and feelings. That's okay. Some of that is going to be anger, sadness. You might even blame the deceased or yourself for what happened. Don't feel like we're telling you how you should feel in your grief. While there are healthy ways to deal with grief, there's no right way to grieve. Emotions are complicated and weird, and you have a full right to them. Also, don't feel like you should have necessarily known that there was something wrong with your loved one. When people are miserable, they are great actors. So, family and close friends might not even realize something's wrong. While I'm not too sure how much the characters in this story should or shouldn't know, those who are reading with me, who know the games better than I do, act like these characters are all knowing, if not mostly knowing of people's actions. For those who are suffering with a loss like this, try to remember that choosing to commit suicide is not easy, and it's never thought of lightly. People who are thinking about committing suicide think long and hard about why it makes sense to die. Why it makes sense for us not to exist. We sometimes go out of our way to even prove to ourselves that we should exist. But it can take one thing said, one thing done, to bring it all back down into a spiraling circular tornado of bad thoughts again. I'm not trying to excuse anything rude someone battling this may have said or done. I'm just trying to explain what it's like for those who want to at least attempt to understand what their loved one feels on a daily basis. Or at least from the point of view of someone who's been there and tried that. So, with that PSA out of the way, please enjoy the reading from Operation Nina 11.
Okay, let them go in one with it. And then they wonder, why did I hate this so much? This is a rough copy of my Legend LOZ Angus fanfic. It's a bit off the chain and critically challenged, but I'm working on a revision which is on another computer that is currently being stored away.
Then why don't you go get it?
Also, since this fic is a continuation of two other fics by Chaotic Serenity of fanfiction.net, Bello fics before reading mine.
Chaotic Serenity. Serenity, which
I think it's Serenity. I think she just spelled it wrong.
Yeah, I think it's supposed to be Serenity, but she didn't spell it that way. So I'm pointing out every foible because, we have this love for Jenna and all of her immensely great spellings and wonderful grammar. And
so it's a fanfic of a fanfic, basically. Did she get permission to do that, or?
This is why people say it's plagiarized.
Okay, story time real quick. When I was first introduced to fanfiction in high school by my friend Shard, I was so inspired by the Angel Eater story that I made a spin-off story that technically you didn't have to read that by that author if you wanted to read mine, but I did give credit to, so that there would be some understanding that there was a past history between these two other characters. I've done this, and now that I'm older, I'm like, you know what, maybe that really wasn't okay, and I should have asked first.
I think generally if it's fan fiction or something like that. I think generally it would be okay, since most all of this stuff is just stuff that's out there, and you're just doing it for fun at the time.
Yeah.
Unless you're the asshole that wrote 50 Shades of Grey, which was not even a good Twilight fanfic. And this is coming from the person who actually likes Twilight fanfiction on this crew.
That's because usually it's stupidly entertaining.
Right, and it's different when it's in name only and has nothing to do with any of the characters. It's just like you could have named these people Bob and Anita, and they would be completely just different people anyway. All you're doing is using the names, one of those in name only things.
Yeah.
Write those stories. The Shattered, wise in our own ways.
Author's note. He. This must be my 5th songfic. Well, again, this one is by Mariah Carey's song. It's by her song, not by herself, but by the song she made, One Sweet Day. But I will have to admit that this one is a sad songfic. This one was inspired by a chaotic serenity's, story, wise in our own ways.
Oh, she spelled it right this time.
Now, I was never the type to like any kind of fics based on suicide. This type of fic is not like me, especially if you have read any of my other songfics and stories, but her wise in our own ways inspired me to write this songfic where everyone in Hyrule is mourning the loss of Link, the hero of time.
Great! Wonderful! You've told us all of the dramatic tension and every bit of the suspense. Oh yeah, by the way, he's dead. Thanks for that. We'll just go right in on that. Thank you so much, Jenna. Wonderful.
The song One Sweet Day is a very beautiful and moving song. I don't even know if that song has anything to do with suicide or death or whatever, but it does now for the purpose of this story. And moving songs, so I decided to do something like this only once. But then, MIL was a thing, and that killed me inside. I don't know about anyone else.
Yeah, I mean, really, she's completely killed the character of Link like 15 times in friggin' my inner life, so why should she be so upset now?
Though I cannot stand to see Link dead, I love him that much.
She loves to see him suffer, you mean?
This probably is the only time I will write a fic based on such an emotional subject.
I'm sorry, I don't know why that was funny.
Death by his own hand. Everyone in Hyrule has succumbed to the effects of his devastating suicide. Now that he has fully been laid to rest, everyone tells just how they thought of Link and what they really never got to tell him before his abrupt end of life.
It's PG-13 for adult themes and Link. Blood content and descriptions of Link's body.
Maybe the other one should have been rated for description of Link's body.
Well, how about description of hers, too?
Yeah, I think I would rate it higher so that less people would read it for more descriptions of her body than Link's body.
I have to agree with Dockologist. It's called Broken Wings and is a songfic, but that's not the song she used.
Yeah, I like that too. The fact that, you could have used the song that was actually called Broken Wings.
Disclaimer! Okay, I know I do not own Link or any of the other Zelda peeps. They belong to Nintendo. Though I wish I owned Link, he. I'm just borrowing them for my wonderful songfics and stories. Enjoy!
Broken Wings! Thank you very much. Keep awake.
Here's those 2 lines. They're kind of like titles.
Okay. Fallen Warrior. An Angel's Tears.
I still cannot believe it. He's really gone.
This has to be a nightmare. How can it be? How?
Oh, Goddesses Link, why, how could you?
I still don't believe that this is real.
I'm still here all alone. Link, why? Were we supposed to be married? You were supposed to be my king.
Link, why did you do this? My heart just cannot take it anymore.
Our hero of time has fallen. Broken wings never to fly again.
This is too much for me. Oh, goddesses, why? Why did he have to leave us so?
You're channeling a little much Neil Breen there. I was trying. I can't believe you committed suicide. How could you have done it? How could you have committed suicide? I'm sure the people that have seen the reviews of the Neil Breen movies will get a chuckle out of that, or at least I hope they will.
I thought a holder, a part of the sacred Triforce wouldn't die like this.
Shouldn't appear in that.
Did he hate us that much?
That's usually not why someone commits suicide.
Yeah, it's kind of, you can't really enjoy it. Do it motivated by spite of other people. That's really kind of horrible when you think of it. It's like just a really stupid idea. Anyway, his sword, the Master Sword, now dank and dull. It is light has gone. Because that is an abbreviation, not a possessive. You use no apostrophe when it's a possessive. Also, why would the Master Sword be dank and dull now? Did it get dank and dull between times when it was sitting?
Because in the context of this, Link uses it on himself to dull because of his, I don't know.
Broken pieces. Fallen wings.
No more walks through the forest.
No more sparkling blue eyes.
No more gentle words. I think I was channeling Jack.
No more brotherly talks, sorry.
Walk you like a wheelbarrow. You're my brother.
No more shoulders to cry on.
Horseback rides along the ocean.
What? What was he doing with all these people? Like, what the hell?
They were all the people he was boinking other than Jenna.
Apparently, how did he have time to do all this shit?
They're the sages.
This has just opened up a whole new can of worms, hasn't it? No more hugs, gentle kisses, sweetness of love. How many people is he fucking? How many people has Link been fucking in this story? We need a setup.
Me, everyone in the stream.
No more nothing.
No more nothing?
Look, I don't think you're Southern, Jenna. So please stay away from my double negatives.
Why did you do it, Link? Why?
Because I hated all of you. Fuck you all. Queen Shireen said. Well, it wasn't really said why. It was speculated, but still. I can't believe she...
fucking do it, Link. Why the fuck did you do this, you bastard?
I can't believe, considering that this is MIL and coming from Link's Queen, that he did it because he realized how shitty this universe is, and he didn't want to be a part of it anymore.
Fucking gobshite.
Rauru the lightsaber spoke word.
Rauru. I sound like I'm drunk. Rauru the light sage. I sound like Scooby-Doo. I don't sound like I'm drunk. I sound like Scooby-Doo.
Raggy!
Spoke words of sorrow, which were just a phrase, not an actual sentence, because they didn't have a fucking period at the end of them.
In all my... I don't know what the hell it sounds like. In all my years, I never thought a dark day like this could ever befall Hyrule. Which I guess should be a period, but whatever. But as the 7 of us with all of Hyrule's population what? Okay, look. Hyrule, I'm sure, is a big place. But not everyone in Hyrule could gather around this man's grave. That would be impossible.
Thus it would just leave everywhere else completely undefended. And even if you are, a citizen of Hyrule, they probably need guards.
Somebody like Link would probably be the equivalent of have a royal funeral where you lie in state, so that people who want to come and pay their respects, the general population can do that. Blah blah blah.
I mean,
yes.
Honestly, judging by the track record of people in Jenna's Hyrule, I'm surprised that they didn't just put him on a dais with the sword still stuck in him and be like, okay, the next generation of Link can come here and get the sword. Then just close it up and just forget about it for 15 years.
Yeah. The one question still tortures us all. Why? Why
Sorry,
did...
I just thought it was funny. Torturers us all.
Yes, that is true. Why did he take his own life in such a gruesome manner?
As in a house.
Actually, why did he do it at all?
Yeah, why did he take his life in the haunted mansion? He should have done it in a prettier place, like Cinderella's castle or something.
As I stand here looking over the cross with his sword, the master sword lying on top, I still cannot believe that Link, our steeled warrior, the hero of time, is actually gone.
Still ask myself what was so terrible in the young man's life for him to have taken his own life by his own sword. Was the quest that had befallen him too much for him to handle? Was the title Hero of Time such an ugly name? He despised his own destiny so much that he felt a desire to end it all in cold blood? I know the answers to. Perhaps it's because the answers are now too far out of reach.
Perhaps it's because nobody bothered to fucking talk to him at any time ever. But then again, he doesn't really say a lot in those games.
Ha!
Well, there you go. They could ask him that and he could respond with a scream. Oof, 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 oof. Even though I haven't gotten the answers to my nagging questions, and I don't know who's actually speaking or I do a funny voice, if this is Rauru still going, then Rauru needs to just consolidate Rauru's statements and have a little connector here or something, maybe.
Yeah, it needed to be like, in quotations, Rauru continued, period, and then keep going so that we know he's talking.
Yeah, really. At least I think that's
how the other story was formatted. It's just these long things of them talking.
Yeah, and it never really clarifies who's talking because it does the.
It's supposed to be each person, like who's each. Like if it shows us the name of the sage, that's their whole.
So I see. So basically, they're giving a speech of stupidness.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
Even though I've gotten the answers to my nagging questions, I should actually consider what might have been caused for all his pain and suffering. Wise as I believe myself to be, never had I considered that perhaps I did push the young man a little too hard, forcing everything upon his shoulders so soon after his awakening, caused him to run headlong, which should be one word, into something he wasn't ready for.
House problem?
I think so, yeah.
Okay.
Don't go yet.
Perhaps I Perhaps I expected him to carry the weight of the world on his tender shoulders. Expected him to have all the answers to the plaguing problems that had fallen this land. But what was I to do? I was running out of time, my powers were failing, and the final seal protecting the sacred ram, the scared ram I don't know, was breaking. But the young man became the hero of time, did he not? He was perfection at its finest, steeled for warfare, his fate forged by blood and destiny, and chosen by the Triforce to carry its devastating power.
Devastating power? Devastating now, is it?
Devastating.
However, as I stand here unable to move, frozen like a petrified rock, my eyes struggling to hold back the welling tears, I cannot help but think about how I cannot help but think about how, if we had just given Link the chance, we could have possibly saved his life. Possibly could have prevented this whole catastrophe from ever happening. But perhaps the young man's pain was beyond our reach. Perhaps this was a decision fate had in store for him a long time ago.
What a fucking asshole! You who stood up here and blabbed balloon juice at us for God knows how long, and all you're doing is being like, well, maybe I could have just not done my job. It's not my problem if he couldn't handle it. Never mind, I didn't fucking talk to him or ask him a single question at any given time. I'm standing up here like petrified rock. Petrified rock! Petrified rock!
Just started. It's already gonna kill the machine.
I'm sorry, I didn't think I would get this worked up. I apologize.
Perhaps. I'm constantly wringing my mind on this entire situation, constantly tearing myself apart, saying that I could have done something different, but how was I supposed to know? In this situation, how could I have possibly known it was coming? It's because I didn't see it coming, that's why.
You're a fucking sage! You're a fucking sage! You should have seen this coming if anybody should have. Sorry. I was so caught up in the young man's duties that I didn't see he was suffering because I didn't fucking ask a question. A single question at any given time in the fucking story. That his heart was in pain. So blind to the fact that he was suffering that extraneous comma, I might add. He was suffering that. I remained ignorant to the truth and threw aside the fact that in reality he really was dying both physically and mentally. No, he wasn't. He was not. He killed himself. You didn't pay any attention. You didn't help him at all. This is your fault. You were standing up there excusing yourself from any responsibility in this entire situation, despite the fact that of all people in Hyrule, the sages should have known this was coming.
This starts mad at this point.
I'll take your word for it because I haven't played any of the games, so I don't know what the sages are or aren't capable of. So,
because.
Okay. Now, because of that blinding ignorance, we are paying for it. Are plagues descending upon Hyrule? How are you paying for him killing himself? Even though I'm standing here, the threat of Ganondorf attacking at any time still remains. Because Link didn't put him in his place before he passed? His wicked evil still plagues this once beautiful land, and now there is no one to stop him. Because of this ill twist of fate, we are all living in a hellish nightmare from our own damn selfishness and moral. So now you're gonna guilt trip everyone. Because this one guy decided to kill himself. So it's everybody's fault.
And we're living in a hellish nightmare from your own damn selfishness and morals? That's a very bad phrasing from a supposed sage. Very bad. And also, we cannot turn back the hands of time except the fact that did that frequently in Ocarina of Time.
It's one of the games.
Even in the title of the game, Time.
But what are we to do? We cannot turn back the hands of time, change fate, change the past. We are stuck in the dark time by the loss of our hero.
Let's just shove our fingers up our asses and sit around like we obviously were doing for 15 years before now.
You know what would have made this at least a little better? Is if maybe they had oh shit, he killed himself. Well, let's see, he can go back in time and fix shit. Let's see if one of us can do it. And for whatever reason, it just doesn't happen, even though they know what to do.
That would just be too interesting.
Yeah, it's probably true. It would be way too interesting.
Following away as to what would be better than what we are reading.
Well, it started.
Yep. Didn't take long. We're not even at the end of the story yet.
Yep, we've got anger, and we've got here's how it could have been actually decent.
But that's irrelevant now. All that matters is Link, the hero of time, is gone. And the fact remains that I never once told the young man just how much he meant to me. I came to love him like my son, took him in as one of my own. But it's too late to tell him that now. I wasted all this time and never once told him just what he meant to me. Now I will have to live with that. Live with his blood on my hands. And know that I will, when the day finally comes, take that knowing to my grave.
However, for once the stains on my hands have become permanent, and somehow my faith in the goddesses has shifted to a looser standing.
And for once this old man is not sure if he can hold back to me. I will say that these last few paragraphs are pretty, like, the sentiment that they're conveying is compelling. It's still formatted like garbage, but with a better formatting it might actually be the only redeemable part of that whole tirade.
Actually, let me see something real fast, if I can find it. Hershey,
Oh, no.
this came from someone else, it was advice from someone else, so I don't know how much of this is actually her stuff and how much of it's, the other one.
Yeah. Well, Doctologist has a good point that, in fact, I was going to bring out at a funny moment, but I probably wasn't going to find a funny moment, so I'm going to read what Doctologist said. He said, "This fic doesn't end with a fairy descending over Link's body and bringing him back to life with a flick of her wand and everybody pulling a slapstick shocked face cut to freeze frame. Then the entire thing has missed its only opportunity at dark humor." And that's very, very true. Because, as he says afterwards, this is cheap and terrible melodrama. There hasn't even been any setup. We're supposed to know what happened in these other stories that she doesn't link to. No pun intended.
Well, to be fair, I don't even know if this is actually connected to any of the other stories. I mean, for all I know, it could just be a one-off.
I think the best way to look at it is like it's just another alternate universe.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, apparently Jenna met Link in this universe and he just killed himself rather than put up with her.
Might have been for the best, to be fair.
Oh no. I know how this story ends, but I won't say wow. Oh, Matt, I'm sure of it.
Narburu, the spirit sage, a warrior's torn heart.
Even though I don't have as much to say as that old man there, I will say that even for a man, Link, the hero of time, was different. I never had any trust in men, even after Ganondorf became king. But Link was different from most men. He changed the way I felt towards him. He was caring, compassionate, and damn handsome. But it sure is a way of a hell too late to tell him that now. Damn it. Why didn't I tell him sooner? Why did I wait until now?
Is this really okay to be bringing up during a funeral?
Yeah, like, the audience cannot be, like, how could it be any more awkward? Are we gonna just get, like, a picture of him out and just all whip out our dicks? Like, why would you ever bring this up at a funeral?
Because I'm a stubborn fool, that's why. I keep blaming the lad for his own demise when I said I should have compassion for him, like he once did for me. Why haven't I? Why do I keep blaming this whole situation on him? It's because he left us behind so suddenly without any warning for his selfish reasons. I still remember the way we found him that day, lying dead in the Temple of Time on the altar. The Master Sword pierced through his chest, pools of blood marring the floor.
You know, this is a fucking Temple of Time. This is also potentially the most sacred place in all of Hyrule. Why in the hell would there be no one there and he can just impale himself on an artifact, a magical artifact, in the middle of the Temple of Time?
Maybe Dark Link showed up and finally finished the job.
Good Lord. I remember how long it took us to be able to move as we stood there in shocked disbelief, looking down at his body lying there on the altar. Yeah, lying on the altar. Do you realize how difficult it would be for him to get up on top of an altar, impale himself, and stay there? Then how long it took us to gain the strength and courage to move him and give him a proper burial. Like that was any other kind of burial?
We were actually thinking about just leaving him there until he rotted away, but then we thought that would be kind of gross.
This is exactly what I was saying. I figured that they would just leave him there, shut up the temple, and be like, okay, in 15 more years, Link's gonna be reincarnated anyway. He'll just hop over here and get the sword out of his own dead body. It sounds about right for this group of clowns.
I'm trying to think of what voice to give her.
Or a Valley Girl accent or something.
Valley Girl. So, totally, now I stand here over his grave, looking down at the once mighty sword, which is now...
God.
which now just lies on top of it like his tombstone or something. It's blade, dang, and dull, the light of justice, gone. I will never ride that again. I kept asking myself the same questions that I asked myself the day we found him.
How did popcorn work?
Hi-ho silver away! I don't know what the hell that was. As a warrior of, the utmost level of respect, why did he fail to abide by the very code that he swore to lead his life under?
Oh my god.
How did he fail to... I don't think don't commit suicide is ever a part of any code.
Plus, it's like, you're standing here, slagging him off at his own funeral. Like, everybody in Hyrule is here, and you're talking about how hot you thought he was, how much you wanted to jump his bones, and then you're like, but he was selfish, and he failed, and all this, like, great. This is a great remembrance. Great. I'm so glad that we got these inflated assholes who are just shitting out hot air at the front of this massive group of people, half of which probably can't even hear him since there's a lot of people in Hyrule. But all you're doing is insulting the dead. The honored dead.
Why did he allow such a simple problem to take him down the bitter path of anguish until it was too much for him to take? Easy way out.
Easy way. Climbing onto an altar in a temple and impaling yourself until you die.
Yeah, it would have been much easier just to, climb up somewhere high and jump.
Still have no answers to this lingering question, but a warrior must be willing to take whatever fate hands to him and deal with it in whichever way he can, and track down the bitter ironies of life with a steel-forged soul.
Fuck you! I'm sorry. Just like, fuck you! But whichever the reason was,
you didn't really give reason, you just kind of said a lot of stuff.
Yeah, this has been a great occasion for the sages to talk about themselves. The fact remains he is gone, and now fate is going to continue to hand us our destinies with or without him. Or our destines, sorry. Our destines.
Destines.
But weren't our destines supposed to be like...
Little baby destinies.
I mean, we were supposed to have this happen in a different way, so why are we looking back to fate and destiny when they obviously have gone wrong?
Because, I don't know, people cling to things they already know.
Sages! However, I will admit that I do miss it. Very magnanimous of you.
Yeah, thanks, asshole.
He was one sweet man. One of a very few. Do you have a problem? Like, is this some sort of a emotional issue or something? Like, what the hell is wrong with this person? But even now I thought of him as a warrior and a friend. That's why you thought of him as a friend. Why does it feel like my strong, steel-forged warrior's heart is breaking? You're not a... Oh, fuck you. Fuck you! Where I'm supposed to be a strong, unbreakable warrior. Able to overcome, which would be one word, the loss of comrades. I guess I will never know. Because I haven't had a single thought in my empty head ever. All I can say is that for once, extraneous semicolon, even if my heart was steel-forged, it sure cannot hold back the pain anymore.
Impa, the Shadow Sage, Ashika's wise words.
From since I can remember, my place in the royal family was the daring role of protector, supporter, and caretaker of Princess Zelda, as in the way of the Shikas. But for once, I believe that I have failed to uphold the codes that we strongly adhere to serve and protect. Because of my fears and concerns for the princess' safety, I neglected to notice that someone else was in need of my protection.
Never in my life had I failed that code. Never had I once neglected to offer someone in need of my help.
Anybody get the feeling of like an Alcoholics Anonymous thing? Like, this is less like a funeral, more like an AA meeting. Until now.
I have failed to prevent the end of the most prodigious, generous man who has ever lived. Link, the hero of time. Because you did not fucking know that. For once in my life, another hand was needed to save my own, and I neglected to ever repay such magnificence and devotion in the simplest manner.
That didn't work?
Link needed love. It was by my own blind negligence that I failed to see Link's pain and suffering. But what am I to do now? I cannot change the past, nor can I bring back the once lively man I came to call friend with a random
This is just a whole lot of people excusing themselves.
I cannot help to question his reasons for ending it the way he did. Even though life can sometimes deal an unfair hand, that doesn't always mean you need to find an easy way out.
It's not an easy way out.
Never was. One must remain strong, steel themselves for the unknown, prepare themselves for the future.
Link failed to uphold that code.
What fucking code says you can't kill yourself?
Instead he chose an easy path, one less travel, and when the road ended...
What? What? Why are you bringing the path less traveled into this? That has nothing to do with this. And obviously, for munificence, she must have found a fucking thesaurus recently. Oh, I'm sorry, I got... No. There has to be other reasons to why he did what he did. But as a wise sage who is incredibly self-congratulatory and smug, I cannot seem to find the answers that keep eluding me to this day. Probably because I haven't given it a single fucking thought in my empty head. For one so wise never goes long without the answers. Or do they? I still have no explanation for Link's rashness, but maybe I should stop slagging him off at his fucking funeral, because I'm supposed to be someone who's giving a remembrance. One thing's apparent, which should be a colon instead of a semicolon. Link, Hyrule's hero, is gone.
Duh. Good job. Stating the obvious.
I just got here, by the way.
The consequences were higher than the risk, and now I'm standing here with the other sages as well as all of Hyrule's remaining population. You've already said this. Also, the remaining population, was there a plague recently? Was there another opposing army that just swept through Hyrule and killed everybody in sight? Except for the ones they happened to miss?
And if Ganondorf is still a problem, then maybe you shouldn't have taken literally everybody in Hyrule to a graveside that apparently none of the people involved speaking actually knew him. This is just an increasingly bad idea the more we learn about this.
Mourning the loss of our fallen warrior. Not her friend or brother or father or something. It's just warrior this and warrior that and soldier this and soldier that.
We have to think about more what he could do for us than, what he was actually about or who he was. And wait, weren't we just lamenting that we had never figured out who he was because we never took the time to get to know him? Great idea.
And another story, this characterization would have been quite a bit interesting to see, the most wisest people, be as they are right now.
Mm-hmm.
Even as I stand here, over his place of rest, I cannot help but contemplate the effects of such a passing has had on my understanding of the world. I now feel that fate has held a whole new meaning in my life. What does fate have to... Okay. It's something that cannot be taken lightly. What, fate? Life? What are you talking about? It must be treated as something that guides you through life. Something that has forged your destiny from birth.
If it forged his destiny, he wouldn't have killed himself. If it was part of his fate or his destiny, all of the sages should have fucking known about it.
But Link never understood that. It seemed to be too much for him to comprehend. Or maybe it was a reality he didn't want to accept.
Fuck you! You never told him! If you told him that he was gonna kill himself, maybe he wouldn't have killed himself. Maybe you would have been like, hey, we've foreseen that it is your destiny to impale yourself on top of an altar in the temple. Like, maybe, if you had told him, you could have worked with him. But no, obviously this was neither fate nor destiny. But oh my god, oh my god.
Maybe we forced him to take flight too soon on his newfound wings after he was awakened from his 7-year sleep. Or perhaps he felt the entire weight of the world was thrust upon his shoulders.
Did we skip Norm?
Or he believed he could not carry such a burden alone.
Newfound wings? His newfound wings?
Well,
Norm, were you
I know.
skipped or did I miss something?
I think.
Yeah, I skipped. I was skipped.
Okay.
Go right ahead.
I'm sorry.
I'll jump in right after you.
Whatever the reason he chose to do what he did, I cannot help but feel cheated.
Great way to make it all about you,
Fuck
motherfucker.
you!
I just wish the lad had told us of his pain and suffering.
Could you ask? Could you ask a single simple question for once in your fucking life?
I wish he had asked for my help. I could have taught him so much more, including the notion that even the paths we lay out for ourselves may still be diverted into yet another direction.
But I waited too long to tell the lad that, because apparently this is all about me now. Too late to tell him that he was someone I came to call friend, because you never make that clear to people while they're alive. You never tell them that they're your friend. And to show my appreciation for his hand in saving my life. Holy fucking crap. I will have to live with that knowledge for the rest of my days. We've been here before. I feel a sense of deja vu. Deal with the fact that it's possessive. We could have used an apostrophe here. His blood on my hands now.
However, even in light of my blatantness, I will
They're talking about the one from Mother.
I will miss the lad. I will miss those gentle and wise words he always spoke. Miss the welcoming company he always made.
Could we hear some of the words he spoke? Maybe a saying that he left with you that you liked, instead of just saying the words he always spoke? As if we're supposed to know what the fuck they are?
That is all gone now. All that is left is the memories of a once vibrant and brilliant young man. A young man whom we came to know and love. A man that has now left this world. And left us with only unanswered questions. Plenty of them. And now it seems to me, for once in so long, the torrential winds have claimed victory once more.
The fuck does that even mean? And the banjo becomes angry at midnight. Is this some sort of fucking code? You got a purge now.
Put Salem, run around like a pig. Ew!
Yeah.
Ruto, the water sage, tears of a mateless queen.
The tone with which you read that was perfect. It's absolutely correct. Oh, by the goddesses, I still cannot. God, I'm channeling Ruth Gordon here now. Oh, by the goddesses, I still cannot believe it. That nightmare is not ended even if I stand here. Over the man I had once chosen to be my husband, which is another great thing to drop on us at the fucking funeral, since we haven't had these characters around so far and we're reading different fucking story from the same person. Now lies here after a semicolon that should have been something else. Now lies here atop this damn mountain? Mountain? Where is a mountain? 6 feet down under mounds of dirt. So we buried him 6 feet under and then made a mountain on top of him somehow.
They buried him.
We cast
They buried
earth.
him in the mountain.
Sorry, one at a time. I can't do you.
Buried him in the mountain.
Okay, buried him in the mountain. What did you say?
Oh, I said we cast earth, and then I think I said moved earth. Move earth. Here, let me roll that dice. See if I make it. I have my dirt donkey with me. Nobody's gonna get that. Unless you watch a certain video.
And what do I think of all this? No, wait, I'm not doing this. And what do I think of all this? I'll tell you what. Anger, disgust, loneliness, and trepidation. Ever since the day we found him dead in the Temple of Time, stabbed in the chest with that damn bloody sword. I've never been able to forgive him for leaving me so sudden and so alone. I'm verklempt, I'm sorry.
Now I'm queen, taking the responsibilities of my people alone, sitting here on a throne with no partner. Whose fucking fault is that?
You're sitting on a throne at a funeral? You have like a travel throne? Does it have little walkie legs?
That would be awesome.
Those palanquins or something.
Hey, Holly. I was thinking of going with that, but I'm like, my throat will die if I try doing that.
Hey, Harley is the best thing. That's the best thing.
Hey, Holly.
No one to be by my side, and no one to help me bear the next heir to the throne. Fuck you.
Wow, what an asshole. What all these people
Well,
are horrible people.
That's all Link's job was in any of Jenna's story, is to fuck somebody so they can have kids. That's it.
Uh-huh.
For that, how can I forgive him? That fucking asshole, he owes me child support. How can I just push aside the fact that I have lost everything? I think Link's the one who lost everything since he's fucking dead, asshole!
I mean, he did stab himself on top of an altar. That's pretty dramatic, and that's pretty final.
That Link and I ever shared because of his selfish acts. How?
Stop talking shit about the deceased at his own funeral!
No, I will not.
Simon, my God.
Why should I have to suffer the emotional blows of his death because he chose to take a coward's way out?
Fuck you!
Why should I be forced to bear the responsibilities and mistakes of a fool who hadn't so blindly lost his way?
You wouldn't want to marry a woman?
So many people need to be slapped right across the face, apparently, in Hyrule.
No, I cannot be burdened with the kind of weight dragging on my shoulders when I have my duties as Queen of the Zoras to reform. But I still cannot help, even now, forgetting the man I once loved. Even in my dreams, I see him. Even in my dreams, I see him. Those twinkling blue eyes, his soft, silky blonde hair, that perfect body. Such a perfect body. Oh God, this is how I miss him.
What is wrong with you people? Like, what is wrong? Did they just get the most fucked up people in Hyrule and be like, hey, we really need people to say something at this funeral? We don't care what it is. We just need you to fill time. We're basically just going on like a marathon.
So basically, they're paid mourners.
Basically, yeah.
But they're not very good at their job.
They are the worst, possibly, who have ever existed in their job. I will never forget.
Paid in crack.
But it was like the monks. What was the monks?
Oh, the monks.
Oh,
the monks.
Yeah, the monks. That's right. That's a good point. That's a good point.
Maybe they just pretended to be sages or something. I don't know.
The sages were the monks. They just didn't recognize them with their hoods on.
Oh, no.
This is canon now.
I will never forget the first day I met him. So cute. Is he cute? So young. I can't even get my words right. I'm sorry. I got it that elderberry wine, and it was really good. I thought I would have another one, and then another turn to another. Anyway, so young, cute blue eyes, filled with concern for me as we stood there inside the bowels of Jabu Jabu's belly. Because at a funeral is the perfect time to remember when you were in someone's ass with shit. Then that daring rescue against Baronade, which is one letter away from Marinade, right? I remember how he stood strong, fought hard, and overcame the beast that threatened me, even though I'm not going to talk about that, because I just called him a fool and selfish and said he took the easy way out. Apparently I was real useful in this, because I'm remembering myself doing so much. Then we were transported back to Lake Hylia to rejoice after his prestigious victory, which I'm also not going to go into detail about, because I didn't think about writing it when I was writing the story.
It was at this point he asked for the Zora Sapphire. I knew at that very moment I found my life mate. You decided this on your own, even in the game, and Link was like, yeah, but no. Found the one I was destined to marry.
Yeah, ever since that fateful day, I have kept my promise, stayed faithful and waited. Waited for him to fulfill his promise to me and take his place at my side as my king. But, in the end, he failed to do so. Even after the even after the time he left me alone for those 7 long years.
I thought the day I saw him inside the water temple, those blue eyes sparkling against the clear water that filled the temple, he had finally come to fulfill his promise to me, to fulfill the vows we made to each other years before. And the game fully, but didn't she basically give him up at the end of that section?
I don't remember.
Mm-hmm. And since I've told the sense, I know these people are highly in the Zoras and such, but it's still better saying humans do not talk like this.
It's very pretentious, okay?
I was wrong.
Anna, turn back! The horror of this fanfic is too great! This is the first story, guys. I thought we'd get through all of this in like a day, and then I would have nothing for tomorrow. But I was wrong, as I usually am when it comes to Link's Queen.
I was wrong with my entire life.
Your turn, Kat.
Evidently, Link failed to meet the standards, and in doing so, he has failed me. Now because of that, I'm an entitled little fuck, don't you know? My people are left with a stricken queen. What the hell does that mean? Who has no king at her side, because I can, find the most desirable Zora among us and do that.
Hey guys, I'm gonna just drop in laundry real quick. I'll be right back. So just continue with me and I'll just pick up where you guys left off, okay?
Alright.
Okay.
It's because of that I still scorn Link's rash decision. Because he should have told me before then that he was going to commit suicide, so I could have banged him and had kids. Screw you. Even to this day, one can see I can't think.
Many
What?
What?
One can see I can't think.
Yeah, that's the one phrase that's actually true and applicable in this vast pageant of shittery.
Thanks for the $10 donation, Pink Rose. Someone needs to call an Uber for Ruto. Oh my god.
Someone needs to rent a wood chipper for all these people.
Even in my mind, I stumble over the reasons of Link's undoing. But whatever the reason was, it can't be my fault. Selfish fucking asshole. Can we kick her off the stage now? I think she's had too many.
I think she had too many before she got on that stage.
True. You know Zoras can't hold their liquor. It's not good for fish people.
It's ironic, really, that fish people would ever be dry, but...
But it can't be my fault. The selfishness in me persists. No, it never will be, because I said so.
Because I got on the stage at someone I claimed love's funeral, said it wasn't my fault, and constantly insulted them.
Duckologist,
Repeatedly.
the land is Hyrule.
And though, I don't know, I don't think I've ever been blitzed enough to be that much of an asshole. At least I hope I haven't been. Usually when you get that toasted, you're nicer, not more of a dick. Anyway, because of all that has happened to me now, all of us now are left here with the threat of Ganondorf's constant thrust for servitude, That's probably not the right phrasing to use, but I don't care.
No, because now all I think of is, well, you wanted a mate who is, very strong and dependable, and Ganondorf gets the job done, so what's the problem here?
I've got your thrust for servitude right here. The wrath monster has plagued that monster has plagued this now dank land. Oh, dank land. Maybe they are high. With still remains very real. I now live in fear every day of my life for my own safety and the safety of my people. That's mainly because I have no filter and I'm a total piece of shit.
I left. Yes, I word. Left with
That was actually a better and more coherent speech than she has given so far.
Yes. Left with a lingering fear welling up inside that one day Ganondorf just might succeed in killing us all, and with nothing to stop him in his will.
God, I wish he would just kill me.
So
Wait,
Ganondorf has a will, though. He has a written will. I'm surprised by this. And there's nothing to stop him, even in his will. He can just mow down everyone. This land turns more violent and wicked with each passing day under Ganondorf's control. So is he in control of Hyrule, or is he not? Did Link really kill himself, or did Ganondorf just stage a thing? I sort of want Ganondorf to stage a thing, because that would make for an awesome story, but this is not an awesome story.
You know what would be an awesome story? A Ganondorf X Link pairing. Where he staged Link's death. Because, good God, how do you stab yourself to death on an altar in the temple? How is that even good?
Right, and that would have been like an epic fight of, like, Link going, no, I'm not gonna date you, and Ganondorf being like, alright then, if I can't date you, nobody's gonna date you, and I'll just kill your ass.
Well, I was thinking more like they staged the death so that he
so he could run away and... Okay.
Right, they could run away and he could finally be free of the assholes that were surrounding him in life. Like, all of these people are just horrible people, and Ganon was like, hey, I'm supposed to conquer this land and shit, but, you're not half bad, and, well, you're kind of in a shitty situation. Like, look at yourself. Look at yourself, kid. You got all these people that just want to ride your dick to give them an heir. Like, what kind of horrible people are these people? They don't care about you. Here, look, we're gonna stage your death, and then we're gonna hang around at your funeral. Nobody'll notice you. They're not that intelligent. Nobody'll notice you. And then you can hear what these people really think about you. And then you're gonna run away with me, because I really care about you. We don't even have to have sex or anything. We can just go to this place. Like, I grew up, there were all women around me, and they just wanted to ride my dick just to continue the line. I know what this is like. I grew up. It was destiny. It was fate. It was all this shit. You can come with me. We will find our joy in life.
Docologist. Basically, to summarize headline. Queen's substance abuse problem revealed at consort's funeral. Also, headline. King of Evil falls hard for Link the Twink. Fakes death to elope. I'm liking this better. Somebody write this scenario instead.
It needs to exist.
It'll be like Jenna's death by Care Bears. It'll be fantastic.
Yes!
With no one strong enough to stand up to the towering odds that lay before us, I fear that the darkness will finally prevail.
But even as I stand here, the threat of Ganondorf crashing down on me at any time, I cannot help but feel miserable as I look over the tombstone we finally laid for our fallen hero. I thought it was buried. My fallen...
mountain.
Yeah, that's right. My fallen lover. I may still have feelings of anger and abandonment toward the once perfect man I came to love.
But he's not perfect now because he's dead and decaying, so I can't write it.
Okay. But now all I can feel is selfishness and resentment for the things I never told him before. he so abruptly ended his life.
Yeah, you all do sound selfish, and I'm sure he would resent that. You know, I will miss those eyes and perfect body. You know what I mean? I had waited for so long to fill that lean.
Not appropriate at a funeral.
I'm back for real this time.
This is not okay to talk about.
Oh, God.
What happened now?
We're talking about things we shouldn't be saying at somebody's funeral.
Yeah.
Reading this whole story?
Yes, that too.
Yeah. That's basic. That should be, instead of Broken Wings, this should be entitled What Not to Do and Say at a Funeral, Ever. I had waited for so long to feel that lean, muscular body naked against mine, even though I shouldn't be talking about this at his funeral. Let me tell you about his penis.
It wasn't as big as they said it was.
Oh, no.
That's a real master sword, though, let me tell ya.
Let me tell you why I call the Kraken.
I used to get right in his Kraken, if you know what I mean. And to look deeply into those deep blue pools, though I repeat myself, deeply and deep, of eyes. If there were deep pools of something else on his face, I don't want to know, 'cause that's really disturbing. That always shone with loving glances. But that's all just the lingering fantasy now that I probably should have kept to myself.
You know, when you're making fun of the deep, deep blue eyes, the only thing I could think of is, for whatever reason, Ruto keeps just stack of eyeballs somewhere. And then much like Scrooge McDuck diving into his gold coins, she just dives into piles of eyes. And that stack happened to be blue eyes. And I'm like, that's really disturbing now.
It's ugly as a whole deep blue.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
By the way, Delcologist notes, Funeral Erotica, a new genre by Hey Harley Productions.
Hey, Harley!
That's the worst joke I ever.
All I can admit is that he really is gone, and I never got the chance. Wait, did you read that already?
He read his start.
No, it's just, it seems so much the same as everything we've already read that you're getting the deja vu I got.
Yeah, I'm like, wait, I think I read. No, okay. Admit to is that he's really gone, and I never got the chance to tell him how much I loved him and what he meant to me. Because of that, he died never knowing my true feelings for him, even though I fucking told him that I wanted to marry him. But even though he's gone so far away, it's too distant to touch anymore, then I used the wrong tube, but whatever. I will always love him until the end of time, which is a really fucking long time.
Link is free now. His soul had finally gotten...
I'm sorry.
His soul has finally gotten the release from all the pain it had fought so hard to get away from. Even though he is not finished laughing yet.
Jiggly said something that I need to say, but I can't say it. So just go on.
Okay. Even though he is not with us anymore, I pray that Link has finally found the eternal peace he was desperately searching for.
Okay, so... Jiggly, is it okay if I say it out loud since you can't? Okay, I don't want to get you in trouble or anything. When I look at the stars and point to one, I imagine I am flicking one of his nipples.
What has the story done to us?
I don't know.
You're falling apart too.
Ah.
In a different way.
You're tearing me apart, Jenna. I'm so sick of this world that you've created. It's not Hyrule, I'm just sick of it.
How's your sex life?
So Rudy on the fire stage cries about Black Brother.
I had always believed myself to be a strong and solid warrior, just like the mountains that fight through the blinding torrential storms despite the fact that they're mountains and they don't fucking move. But wreak havoc instead of wreak havoc on them so often. We, the Gorons, have always held up to that standard of being the ones with rock-solid fighting skills and fearless hearts. Apparently a funeral is a place for fucking stupid fun, and everybody's gonna find more painful than their fucking other speeches.
Forged from one stone, we are always steeled for warfare.
Shut up!
And trained to have iron-cold hearts.
Shut up! This is not the place and the time for fucking stupid rock puns!
We are known as the unfailing few, the dependable and determined destroyers, forged from a strict code that we so strongly adhere to. I am the ultimate.
I just blew my sphincter out, I think.
Well, with all the steroid abuse, maybe.
Mamma Mia, Papa Pia, everyone got the diarrhea from the story.
Brah!
After I witnessed Brother Link in the prime of his youth fighting hard against the towering odds waged against him inside the Dongo Cavern.
Towering odds waged against you. Okay, never mind. Sorry, I go confused.
And his admirable defeat of the vicious dragon beast that threatened our very lives. I have always thought of him as one of us.
Or so I thought.
Now I'm forced to question the very heart I thought was... Oh, wait, that's wrong. Now I'm forced to question the very heart I thought was as strong as my own, because I'm a giant fucking asshole.
And a rock.
Yeah, I'm a rock too. Did you know I'm a rock? I can do lots of stupid puns at a fucking funeral about that. 'Cause I know you're here for my fucking rock puns. Link had always seemed to be one of great stature, one of great strength and divine wisdom, one wise in his own way. But as I stand here, looking over the very spot, the place where he now rests, despite that being under a fucking mountain, as we've mentioned several times now, I cannot help but wonder if Link was really a quivering, frail, and fragile man all along. Because that's what you want to mention at his fucking funeral. Because we were all asked here. Because we were supposed to be his friends, and we've said his friends. Even though we're assholes, we're giant sacks of shit. Standing up here slagging off the one person we're here to fucking remember.
Hold on, I want to read what Dockologist said. Okay, from just a structural perspective, what the hell with cutting from the morning lover to talk to a talking freaking rock? What is even dramatic tension?
Morning lover to a talking freaking rock that whips out puns and dad jokes about his nature that anybody can see.
My cat just patted my butt as she's like, "Don't read this anymore."
Well, we're a little more than past the middle, so we might get this done and start on the next story.
Like, this would seriously be like having Navi there, and the only thing she says are hey and listen, and it's still better than these motherfuckers.
Hey, listen, don't read this, it sucks.
Norm coming in like the voice of the narrator to save us, but it's a lie.
Was his steel-forged warrior's heart really that weak? Did he really despise the very destiny the legendary goddesses bestowed him with?
Okay.
These are the nagging questions I still have no answers to, which are no surprise. That doesn't even make any real sense. This is completely incoherent. This might as well be Finnegan's fucking Wake, except no dictionary.
I don't even remember the... Oh, right, Ultimate Warrior. That's what it was. But I still cannot help but resent my own blatant ignorance for not being aware of Link's suffering, so that I could have lent a guiding hand. Drusity! It's as if he didn't trust me enough to help. Weren't we blood brothers? Trusting confidentiality is what brotherhood is all about.
I think confidential is a word without Runia would use.
Like I said, she found a thesaurus before she wrote this.
Yes. Or she took from the author that she is inspired by, too. Because I remember that one was very pretentious and really wordy like this one.
Now I feel cheated, taken advantage of. As if my concerning trust and love wasn't enough for him to have confided in me about the pain and wrenching his slowly weakening heart. Now my whole being is rattling under the immense confusion of the drastic reasons for his undoing.
Everybody keeps blaming him for not coming to them. Like, did anybody ever ask him even once if he was okay? Like, really?
They suck. These are some terrible stages and terrible times. Like, obliterate all.
Here I stand!
Unable to move again as I once did the day we found him. Frozen in time like the unmoving mountains. Tears slowly streaming down my face.
Like the unmoving mountains.
No, down my feces! Down my feces!
I look over the dreary tombstone that now lies above the shallow grave where our once marvelous, vibrant young hero is now resting peacefully, his soul journeying the heavens above.
It's like he's trying to sell us a suitcase of something. But even now, the once tortured soul of our beloved hero of time has now moved on to a better place. I'm surprised we didn't say with burning in hell for all we've insulted him today. I cannot help but wish with all my power that I could reverse time, which was actually a mechanism in the fucking game I even came from. Funny how we could forget that, since it's called the Ocarina of Time and stuff. And he's the hero of time, which I just stated 5 seconds ago. Change what has happened and prevent this whole occurrence from ever becoming. Even though we've just lampshaded something we shouldn't have lampshaded if we didn't want the audience to fucking think about it. But apparently nobody thinks here. Nobody thinks in Hyrule. Nobody thinks that they're reading this.
If I could turn back time.
You know, that's what we need. We need Cher here with duct tape and fishnets.
Okay.
Apparently nobody else has seen that music video. But
No,
she's
I have
standing
not.
on a battleship, wearing fishnets and some duct tape.
Okay. I regret, even abhor, the fact that I was so blind to his pain, Snork, that I pushed aside the glaring truth and pretended as if everything was okay. Now I get to stand here over his damned grave with the grievances. I never told him exactly how I felt.
Bruh.
I raise my head skyward and look towards the heavens to see if Link is really up there. Happy that he is free of this malevolent, miserable world. Happy that he is now free of the overweighing duties that forced him to take fight too soon on his newfound wings.
Sayonara, you still tripping butt nuggets. I'm going to wait. Get it and destroy you now. Let's see. But I asked this question. Was death what he really wanted?
No. The answer is no.
With some blood and dishonor, I put him in honor and glory. And why was that act committed in the Temple of Time?
All things you should talk about elsewhere at another time, and you probably should have figured that out before speaking at his fucking funeral!
Isn't that a sacred place of holiness and worship? Is that not the place where he became a man and gained his newfound wings? Again, these are questions I still have no answers for.
Yeah, it is. It is a sacred place of holiness and worship. And I mean, he was the bearer of the Triforce, so shouldn't the goddesses of the land have had something to do with this? Like, shouldn't they have done something about this? Don't they actually take action more times than not?
I don't know. I've never actually seen them in a Legend of Zelda story, even in the games. I didn't even know who they were when we read MIL. I had to be told.
Yeah, they just touch upon the things that happened in these games and the setting of these games, but it never actually Like, they keep examining these things that you really don't want to ask an audience to think about, because once you start to think about it, you think, that really doesn't add up. Why would he be on the altar in the Temple of Time, stabbing himself? How would that even work mechanically? Like, these people are sages. Why didn't they see that? Why are we still talking about fate and destiny, or destines, apparently? But one thing is apparent, the hero is gone, which we've already said like 15 fucking times. I think I've finally come to the realization that there is no turning back. I'm sorry. It's like, what a stupid thing to say. What a fucking stupid thing to say. Fate hands you your destiny from birth. Again! Fate, destiny, you didn't fucking know this. It's those paths you must travel with a strong will. It's apparently what you fucking need to get through this stupid story. Or succumb to the effects of defeat, which is again a completely obvious statement that is totally fatuous. Only, that is completely extraneous. That is the one thing Link loathed, his own destiny. By God, she used a colon correctly. This
Also,
may be the first time this has ever happened.
Also, how do you know, if you never talked to him or knew anything about him like you wanted to, how do you know if he loathed his destiny?
Mm-hmm.
What the hell is wrong with you? You don't know anything about this guy. You even said this, so how do you know what he liked or what he loathed?
Mm-hmm.
Sumptuous, as they all are.
Everybody is a selfish sack of shit at this funeral. Like, I think, honestly, if Ganondorf's forces came in and just wiped them all out, it would just be like, well, nothing of value was lost. Let's move on with our life.
Well, that's why he turned everybody into zombies.
Yeah, they were probably better that way.
Link was young, he didn't know better.
He was young, he needed the work. He wanted to lay out his own path, make all the choices, despite the fact that I never once asked him about anything that actually mattered, of my own admission. But he never understood that sometimes there are things that are just beyond your control. What?
But if you didn't know him, then how do you know he didn't get this?
And
You never associated with him past, yeah, you're my brother, blood bond, and all that shit.
Things that are beyond your control? Like, what are you even saying? Who are you? Why are you here?
As a result of our stubborn ignorance and high morals, we are now living under the rule of an evil tyrant who is hell-bent on total annihilation of this once marvelous and beautiful land, and quite possibly the entire world. In the end, there now is no one to stop him, and all we can do now is hope that by some miracle we can find the strength to stop him ourselves.
So you never tried. You haven't tried up to now. Even if we take this at face value, none of these assholes has tried anything to stop Ganondorf. And yet, they thought, oh, well, this little dude, who was like 6, is gonna do it for us. And then he kills himself, and they're all like, maybe we should have actually done something. Anything. Instead of letting a little kid try and face death-defying circumstances, climbing a mountain, facing horrible monsters that want to eat him alive and kill him. But none of us are actually going to try anything until after the last moment.
Or maybe I am just hoping for the impossible.
But whichever are the reasons for Link's undoing, one thing is clear. Life will never be the same without him. He will be truly missed no matter how we may feel about his reasons for taking his own life.
Yeah, I'm glad you laid out all those petty reasons in front of everybody, thereby airing your dirty laundry at a remembrance of someone's life who ended tragically. Beautiful. Glorious. Bravo. As I stare at the slowly graying sky of despair for one last time, because where the fuck are we even? We're on a mountain, we're under a mountain, we're in a cave, we're in a shotgun shack somewhere. This is not my beautiful house. This is not my beautiful wife. My God, what have I done? One thing is clear. Life will... Oh, I've just leaped onto the previous sentence because I can't be bothered. Crystal white tears staining my face. Look, if your tears are crystalline and white, there's something fucking wrong with you, bruh.
Well, I am a rock.
He is a rock. He is a rock, but like, what? Crying semen? Milk? What the hell is that? I mean, maybe he's an android from Alien. Maybe this is all explainable by one stupid thing. He's just an imitation of humanity. I just hope Link still hear me. Slagging him off and calling him an asshole as his spirit dances among the twinkling stars of the heavens, quote, even though I should have had a statement there like, he said or she said or something like that.
Link, my brother, the hero, the warrior, and friend.
Bruh.
Your memory will not go undignified, and you will not be forgotten, snort.
Yeah, undignified. Funny this asshole could say, your memory will not go undignified, even though the entire main content of everyone's speeches so far is like, death with dignity? What's that? Surprised they didn't just get his body and shove their hands up the ass and try and make him into a puppet.
They put a stick up there and then just tie strings to his arms. And they flap him around by the stick and move his arms around with the strings on their hands.
I would not put it past this.
So he looks like the Canadians on South Park, with his head flopping about as they do an impression of his voice.
Probably still more dignified than this.
Oh, my tummy hurts. Oh, damn, my tummy.
Saria, the forest sage. Sorrow of a broken friendship.
I still cannot believe this is really happening. I just keep hoping that this is all a nightmare, that I will wake up soon and it'll all be over. Nightmare. It's very real. And the fact very real that Link, my closest friend, has passed on. First, I had never thought one of our own people, Link, one of us, could take his own life in such cold blood.
Why would you have to clarify that? Of course you thought of him as one of you.
Well, maybe other people would think that they didn't. I don't know.
Like, why would you ever say that? Why do all these people keep saying, yeah, we thought of him as one of us, although it's heavily implied by our phrasing that he wasn't, and we're pointing that out as his funeral. And obviously he didn't take his life in cold blood, because you don't take your own life in cold blood. That's not how that works. That's not what that even means. I remember the day he was brought to the Karkara forest by a battered and dying young woman, beaten by the tragic war that had befallen Hyrule, although it wasn't actually mentioned in any of the games and was never mentioned in any part of his backstory ever. She came staggering into the woods. Just go with me here, because even though all of us know it didn't happen, we're going to say it happened, just so we can feel better about ourselves, because we're really a bunch of bastards. Bloody and haggard, carrying a crying infant in her tainted arms, because I'm a really nice person for calling someone bloody and haggard and calling her arms tainted. She sought the Great Digger Tree for some fucking reason and asked asylum for her infant son, although that wasn't how it happened, and there's no reason why we should have to go into this because it's impugning his character and making his death less dignified. It was soon after the Great Digger Tree took the baby under his wing that the women died. The women died.
He had two moms.
With the knowledge he was truly safe, even though I shouldn't have actually known this because I was not there and didn't know this in the game where I appeared, because none of this fucking happened.
He was raised as one of us, as a Kokiri, a child of the forest, led by the divine wisdom of the Great Deku Tree. I remember watching him as he grew up, aged when all his friends around him didn't. Watched and supported him when he was made fun of for not having a fairy partner.
Kiss Magritte. Actually, I'm sorry, that makes her much more interesting than any character in any of Jenny's stories.
It was during those times we became close.
It
A
was the best
friendship-
of times. It was the worst of times. It was whatever the fuck the story is.
That was totally the worst of times. It's a Jenna story.
It was probably worse than the worst of times. Let's put it that way.
Like rock bottom scraping times.
Our friendship bonded by trust and love. He was so vibrant and full of life, as if he was the happiest person alive. Glad to have a friend like me.
You asshole! Why is it all these people are just making it about them? Like, seriously, can people not go 5 minutes actually remembering someone else? Letting someone else have the spotlight? He's dead! This is his last chance to have a spotlight. Until he reincarnates or whatever, but still, it's just really rude.
And I thought it was through that friendship we would never hide anything from each other.
Or so it seemed.
Now I'm standing here on top of a mountain, looking down at the grave where my once closest and dearest friend lies. Although we buried him under the mountain. Whatever. Anyway. My mind now wading through all the reasons why Ling never confided in our bonded friendship to talk to me about his pain and suffering. Why wouldn't anybody want to talk to me about their pain and suffering? Like I wouldn't take it seriously or something. Why he never had faith in me that I might have lent him my guiding hand and words of wisdom. Because it's all about me. Make sure you remember, funeral is not about the dead person that we're all trying to remember. It's all about me.
Did he ever think of even asking me how I would feel about his contemplation of suicide? Did he ever consider the fact what kind of an impact such a disturbing and selfish decision may have on the people who loved him?
Stop insulting the dead person! Stop it! And like, who would really do that? Who would actually be like, hey, I've been thinking about just impaling myself to death on top of an altar in the most holy place in the entire kingdom. Do you think that's a great idea?
Because I have a total hard-on about it.
Oh gosh.
I remember the day the 7 of us found him in the Temple of Time. His body was like a decaying statue laying.
Why would you say it like that?
It's like a petrified rock.
It would be better if he was petrified. Then it'd be like Nanaki's father in Final Fantasy VII.
His body was like a decaying statue lying upon the altar of the Master Sword as it sat pierced through his chest, the surrounding area being tainted with his dried blood.
Stop talking about taints. Stop talking about taints. Stop doing it now, Jenna. Stop talking about taints.
Must be his favorite word.
God.
My first thought was to scream and run. I thought it was all some kind of sick joke. It was as if some unseen force was holding me there, my eyes transfixed on the pale and still corpse lying before me.
Maybe this is not the place. Maybe this is not the time. And I don't question at all that these pieces of shit, these subhuman garbage fire people, would actually do something like that as a sick joke. So I can understand her thinking that this was some sort of a joke. But good God, this not the time or the place. I just stood there for what seemed like an eternity. Again, my eyes stinging from the salty crystal white tears that ran in streams down my face, even though it should not be that way because
We
I'm
used
not
the
rock.
same line for the rock dude. Don't use it again for another character.
Especially a character who is supposed to be humanoid and doesn't have salty crystal white tears. Humans don't have white tears.
I mean, they got salt in them, but you can't actually see that salt.
Yeah, if you have a salt content that high.
Which we
tears
do
are
at the
white.
moment. We very much do.
We all just remain there, frozen in time. And we should definitely mention time again, because it's certainly not a major mechanic that is a plot device in the game we all come from, in Frozen in Time. Like Petrified Rock again.
Just give them a soft. They'll be okay.
Rock. Like, they apparently don't know what the etymology of petrified is. Petrified means turned to stone. Rock does not turn to stone because rock is stone. That's like people that say, if worse comes to worse, you don't go anywhere. Worse does not come to worse. Worse is already there. It doesn't move if it goes to worse. You're just stagnant. You're just in the same damn place. It's like petrified rock. It's an extraneous statement. You don't even need to clarify it like that. Frozen in time like rock. That would be more than enough. Until the 7 of us worked up enough nerve to gain the courage and move him. And though we should have the Triforce of Courage somewhere, since obviously the dude is dead, so maybe we should draw on the courage that we're supposed to have to finally put him to rest where we all now stand, underneath a mountain somehow.
Now here I am, eyes welling up with unhindered tears. I cannot help but blame myself for his abrupt parting of this world. Myself and him, because he sucks. I question myself if there was more I could have done. Scorn myself for not seeing the warning signs of him going suicidal. I should have prayed to God harder in church on Sunday. And resent myself for remaining ignorant about it instead of taking any action to prevent it. I'm getting a different accent as I'm reading. I could have quite possibly saved his life. Could have, but I chose not to because I'm a dickhead. Possibly have prevented this whole horrific event from ever happening. But instead, we're standing here talking shit about the deceased. Because we got better things to do on a Sunday, and instead, we're here burying this douchehole.
It's exactly like Doctologist says. I love how instead of trying to fight Ganon, they're standing around and pissing on Link's damn grave.
But did I stop it? Did I do anything?
Lol, no, I didn't. Sorry.
I don't even think this is a yee-haw moment. I think this is just a yee moment.
Gee!
Yee. It was because of my own conceited, selfish morals, even though we keep mentioning morals, but we don't actually know what that is. An honor-stricken duty as the sage of the forest. It was because of your ability as the sage of the forest that you failed to notice someone's pain and suffering. I'd say you fucking failed at your job there, Bingo.
B-I-N-G-O, 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 and Bingo, what's his name-o?
Bro.
Thank you. I'll be here all night.
That's now because...
Oh yeah, I'll be in the basement.
I'll be in the basement with Jenna. I'll be in the basement with all my morals that are on a grease fire now.
Don't leave me with Jenna in the basement.
That's now because of that blinding ignorance that I'm paying for with the loss of someone so dear to me.
I have seen far too much in my days, and the weight of near centuries' amount of stinging memories are finally beginning to unravel themselves in full force as I gaze upon the grave of my fallen friend. I can no longer be sure of anything anymore. Ganondorf's wake? Wait, his wake? We're having a wake for Ganondorf now? Or is this a different wake?
Maybe what I said about Finnegan's Wake earlier is just her attempt to do Ganondorf's Wake, but she didn't know what the word meant, which is like the one word you should know what it means in Finnegan's Wake. Anyway, Doctologist will be the only one that actually gets it. But that's okay, because I sometimes make very specific jokes.
I can no longer be sure of anything anymore. Ganondorf's wake made it so that this world is plagued with such chaotic twists of fate and sudden change that I cannot follow fate's trail anymore. So it is because Ganondorf Link died. It even says so.
Yeah.
So he must have fixed it so that Link, quote unquote, died and is actually running as far away as possible from this place.
Who knows how the story ends? This would have been way better.
Yeah, I'm just gonna decide that that's actually the content. I'm gonna decide that's really
I now believe that Destiny has changed my whole outlook on life. Actually, I cannot be certain if I believe in it anymore. I still question myself that if I follow the fate and allow it to mold my destiny, am I slowly destined to head down the same path as Link? Is fate so terrible, so cruel, that it would eventually lead me astray? I can't be sure anymore. But I think that Link finally came to realization that fate was dealing him an unfair hand.
How?
Nothing to do with anything. You keep dwelling on fate and destiny that nothing to do with anything.
You soon discover that a road laid out does not necessarily require a traveler, and that building your own path is sometimes a choice we must debate whether or not to take. But I cannot help but think that if he had only given me the chance, I could have taught him that even paths we lay out for ourselves may still maybe divert it into another direction.
You know who did this better? Mighty Max. Because if not the final episode of Mighty Max, then one of the ending episodes, Max actually gets to visit where Norman and Virgil live. Now, throughout the entire story of Mighty Max, we are made aware of several things. Mighty Max is the chosen one. He is destined to fight a certain evil and destroy that evil, which is Skullmaster. If, for whatever reason, Max does not fulfill this destiny that he is there for and kill Skullmaster, somehow it works, a greater evil will come to fill that void, and then there will have to be a different chosen one to stop that evil. The way the great cosmology works is how it keeps balance that way. So, nobody else can kill Skullmaster but Max. So, eventually, Max gets to go where Virgil and Norman hang out when they're not adventuring around the world. And Virgil explains that outside of all the prophecy scrolls he has from Lemuria, the place that they're in also has special, hieroglyphs, sort of hieroglyphs on the wall that dictate certain events that, without question, will happen. But then there are places between those events where it's blank. And Max, of course, asks about this. And Virgil explains that while there is a destiny, and while there are things that are going to happen due to fate, how one gets there or solves the problem is free will. There are things we are going to encounter, no matter what, things that will inevitably come up. But how we choose to deal with them is freely our decision. I thought that was a great way to explain some things like that to a child.